Under Movies podcast. Today we have a very special episode. We just got out of our Thursday evening screening for Superman, the new James Gunn DC Cinematic Universe film. My name is DeAngelis. I'm here with Mr. Jason Gong. Jason.
Hello. We
just got out of the screening. This is a full spoilers review. You should see that in the title of this video podcast. If you don't want to hear spoilers, don't listen to this podcast. Listen to it or watch it after you see the movie. Or you can watch it right now. It's a free country. You can do whatever you want. Jason.
Yes.
What are your spoiler-filled thoughts of Superman now? Your instant reaction coming out of the theater.
Wow. Superman was one of my most anticipated films of the year.
You can say it was your most anticipated of the year.
Yeah, you can check out our most anticipated episode of this podcast.
Yeah, get back to us. Let us know.
We filmed it back in December 2024, and I was like, I can't wait for Superman. And now I've gotten to see that movie. So the problem with it being my most anticipated film of the year is that I read every single scrap of information I could about this movie beforehand, and that spoiled me to the entirety of the film 6 full months ago.
Shout out to Reddit leakers getting the script to the T.
Now, I will say that seeing the movie on screen with people acting out the script is better than just reading about it online. It was a very exciting movie. I think it was fun. David Corenswet has the juice as Superman. That's my number one takeaway. And the most important thing probably about this movie is whether or not this cast can launch the rest of the DC universe. So rest assured, in my opinion, I don't know about Dylan's, we were pretty tight-lipped on the walk home. I think this is a great launch of the universe. I turned to the guy next to me, the one that wasn't Dylan, the guy on my right. I was like, so what'd you think of this? And he said 9 out of 10.
Oh, shit.
And
shout out to that guy.
I would give it probably a 7 out of 10.
Oh, we're already doing scores.
Also very good, but not as good. This movie was cool to see for sure on screen. I think there were issues with it as a film, but as like just symbolically seeing that Superman on screen, it really worked for me. Dylan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think my immediate reaction here is kind of mixed. Like you said, this movie is having to accomplish several different goals. Mm-hmm. It's having to do more than just be a good movie. It's trying to do more than just be a good Superman movie. This is having to carry the weight of this entire rebooted cinematic universe on its back, and like this movie has no other option than to be good, or at least to be competent.
Yeah.
Like base level competence is like the bare minimum that we need here. If this film was like reviewing poorly, if it was another one of the situations where you look at the Rotten Tomatoes and it's in like the 20 or 30% range, then you'd be hitting the alarm bells. This movie is not that. I think this movie is like enough of a proof of concept that like they'll probably continue with like some sort of plan for these movies in the future. However, like in a lot of ways, this just like isn't a Superman movie. I was curious, like if you could compare this to an MCU film, which MCU film is the Superman film most like, do you think?
Well, it's pretty different from every MCU film, which I think is good. I would say there's like a sort of slice of life element in this film that is almost incomparable to these MCU movies, which are very, I don't want to say formulaic. That's a criticism that's been leveled against them for a long time, but like they definitely follow a formula. And this Superman movie does not. It has a lot more just stuff going on. It's almost episodic within the 2-hour time frame.
Yeah, I think the movie that I kept thinking about while watching this was Captain America Civil War. Captain America Civil War is technically a Captain America movie, mm-hmm. and the A plot in Civil War is, you know, Cap and Bucky and their relationship, and then the stuff involving Tony and his parents. But there's also like a whole bunch of other characters in the movie, and there are sequences that just involve other characters that are not Captain America.
Yep.
And you kind of just buy into it because they're cool action sequences, and you know, this is a shared universe. There's a lot of important characters in this universe, and it makes sense to have, you know, not just your main hero of the film popping up in the entire thing. And that's what this movie is doing. However, like we stated at the beginning, this is the first movie in the franchise.
The first one. You have not met any of these characters before.
So they're really just like hoping you buy it as like these are characters that are in this lived-in universe with like no prior context or like a little bit of exposition of like what's going on here exactly, because we have the B-level Justice League that's like here with
They're calling themselves the Justice Gang.
I don't know if this is like an actual team from the comics, Guy Gardner, Green Lantern,
I'm
plus
not
Hawkgirl,
super
plus
sure.
Mr. Terrific.
I want to say not so much. I would say that's maybe based on the Justice League International storyline, where it is a Justice League that I think is run by Maxwell Lord. If I'm wrong about that, please flame me in the comments.
But this movie is also not doing a Superman origin story. It is just making the assumption that you have a vague idea of what Superman's origin story is.
Yeah.
And we're just going to tell a Superman film, even though this is a younger Superman. He's only been like out in the public for like a few years, it says.
Yeah, I think they said 3 years Superman first hit the scene. Yeah, so it's similar to the MCU Spider-Man where they, again, like skip over the origin story. James Gunn said like last week, he was like, there are 3 things you don't need to see in a superhero movie. You don't need to see Spider-Man getting bitten by the spider. You don't need to see Martha's pearls as she's getting gunned down in Crime Alley. And you don't need to see Superman's parents send him to space. And yeah, I think skipping over that stuff, the Superman origin, I didn't feel like it missed a beat, and I don't think the audience did it either. What did you think?
I think it's also skipping over like important character development that we saw in those Tom Holland Spider-Man films. I understand that he's like a teenager in those movies, but like a lot of them are, Peter figuring out how to like be both Peter and Spider-Man and like serve both roles and like also be like a human at the same time. And then, going through the whole superhero arc of you can't save everybody. You have to like pick your battles. You have to, choose who you want like to be surrounded with. And this movie is kind of dumping you in like after that. It's similar to Civil War. This almost it feels like the third film in a trilogy of movies. However, we don't have the first 2 movies to build up to this. We don't get to see Lois and Clark, Superman, like meet for the first time.
Yeah.
They're just already in a relationship. We don't see any of the build up from that. He's already working at the Daily Planet. There's just like a lot of stuff that is like kind of assumed at the beginning of this movie that like, I don't know, especially if James Gunn is confident that he could do a better job than Zack Snyder or any of the other previous directors that have like tackled the source material. I would be interested in seeing that stuff, at least some of the setup of like how Superman became Superman.
Yeah, I definitely didn't mind skipping over a lot of that stuff because, again, we have seen that origin story multiple times, and we saw it fairly recently in Man of Steel. Like, when did that come out? 2012? 2013, 2014? One of those years, Man of Steel came out, and we got to see that origin. This one, like Dylan said, they jump right into things. They jump into the opening is this text-heavy exposition dump.
Yeah.
And the last thing...
That was the first red flag. I was like, oh, why are we doing this?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But the last thing is that they introduced that Superman has just lost his first battle. So if you saw the teaser, the very first teaser with Krypto saving Superman, that is where the movie opens. And I kind of thought that was cool. And then seeing his relationship with Lois, we don't get to see the boy meets girl part of a typical rom-com or romance film, but we see the will they, won't they elements of it. And I thought that worked really well. It's been a long time since we've seen like a romance-heavy subplot in a superhero movie. Like the Batman does it with Catwoman, and it's not very good. I think the last time they really like put it at the forefront was probably the Iron Man trilogy and the subsequent relationship from the Avengers.
Yeah, and it's something that James Gunn did in his Guardians movies with Star-Lord and Gamora.
But even that I thought wasn't done like quite as succinctly as this one. So they had to skip forward a little bit to get that, and I think it worked. I thought that this Lois was one of the highlights of the movie for me. They've got great chemistry together. So for this movie, the final casting for Superman, they brought 3 callbacks back: David Corenswet, Nicholas Hoult, and then a third person. But they didn't do the callbacks as those 3 people. They paired them up with each with a different Lois as well. So David Corenswet and then this Lois, Rachel, they were together and they tested them as a couple. and then depending on who was the best couple, that's who got the jobs.
Yeah, I think it was the interview scene in the apartment at the beginning of the film. I think that was the testing scene that they used.
Yeah, and that was good.
Yeah, I think Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor is just straight up a miscast.
That's interesting. Yeah,
I don't know if like my interpretation of Lex Luthor is like very skewed towards the Justice League like animated
cartoon,
series.
yeah.
And I'm used to seeing Lex Luthor as this like big brawny like businessman.
And he's a grown man. Yeah.
And like Nicholas Hoult is like I mean he's what, in his 40s I'm guessing.
He is, but he's got that young look. He's very handsome.
Yeah, he's like skinny.
Yeah.
He reminds me a little bit of like Jesse Eisenberg's interpretation of him as like a younger like tech billionaire or something like that. That's like the phenotype that they're going with.
The phenotype.
And I would have preferred like a Lex that's like a more like big like burly, you know, looking businessman. I just don't know if I could see Nicholas Hoult in like a mech suit fighting Superman.
Yeah.
That's what I want out of my Lex Luthor.
No, I think we will see that in the future. I think that James Gunn was trying to cast a Lex Luthor that can grow alongside this young Superman, which I kind of agree doesn't necessarily hit in this movie. I would have also liked a more stoic Lex Luthor, someone who feels like he's been around for a long time and feels like more of a threat. I saw a lot of reviews that really hyped up Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor, and the guy next to me at the theater was like, I love this. But I think I lean more towards your side, where I think they could have went a little older, a little more reserved for this Lex.
Yeah, it's tricky because this movie, it not only does it have an ensemble of heroes, it has an ensemble of villains as well. Because he's got the engineer, which I don't know if that's an original character or that's from the comics.
No, she's from the comics.
She has like nanobots.
She's
which
not
is pretty
like
cool.
She's part of a team, I think, called the Authority, and they're not that famous. But James Gunn announced that team movie as one of his part one. You know how Marvel does the phases.
Oh, really? So
he announced
she's gonna come back.
He announced the Authority as one of their first movies, but he just walked it back like last week. He was like, "We can't crack it. Never mind."
And then he's got Ultraman in there, and I don't know, is Ultraman? I mean, this, you guys already know it's spoilers, but is Ultraman actually like a failed Superman clone in the comics as well? Is that
absolutely not, Dylan? No, Ultraman is not that. Ultraman in the comics is a Superman. He's a Superman from another Earth, an alternate universe. He's from an Earth that's like an evil version.
Oh, he's from the evil Justice League.
Yeah. So in the comics, Ultraman is not a dumb clone of Superman. He is a smart alternate version of Superman, but they just went and chose that name for this character. He's more like Bizarro, like if you're familiar with that character. He's in the cartoons.
Or he's like or comic accurate Black Noir from the Boys.
Yeah, he's very much like Black Noir. That's actually a great comparison. So yeah, this is a big spoiler, but there's a character called Ultraman in this. He's not like the comic book Ultraman at all. He is like Black Noir from the Boys comics.
But he beats Superman's ass like a lot in this movie.
Yeah.
This whole movie is Superman getting his ass beat, by the way, which is like, I don't know how like great of a decision that is to have like your strongest character. It's the hardest part of writing a Superman story, right? Is that Superman is stronger than everybody, so how do you like bring him down to the level? And like the way they do it in this movie is that just like
he gets his ass kicked.
I don't know, he just gets his ass kicked.
No, that's the thing. Is like so many people. Superman's one of the greatest, most famous heroes of all time, but so many normies and even big time comic fans are like, I don't like Superman. He's boring because he's too strong. So James Gunn really went the other direction this time and was like, let's see what it looks like when he gets beat up.
Yeah, it's almost like he's like nerfing his powers a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird because he's like catching buildings and stuff like that. So clearly he has like the strength of Superman as like we typically know him. But yeah, it just seems like he's dialed back for like plot reasons more than anything.
I mean, it's definitely good to see him vulnerable, but you're right. We see him vulnerable the entire runtime of this film. Like, he just loses fights pretty regularly. What people are saying online is that this is like the most humanized version of Superman, and I kind of buy into that, and I like that element of it. I think it gives him room to grow, like, for the rest of this universe, like, see him become that godlike, invincible version of Superman. That could be fun to see that arc for that character.
Yeah, the Superman in this is also, you know, pretty, like, jokey and jovial as well. I'm curious, like, how you think, like, James Gunn's jokey
Like
style.
his comedy.
Yeah, like how did it lend to this universe?
It was okay. What I noticed watching this with a packed theater full of fans, there's so many people wearing
people seeing it
Superman
on a Thursday
shirts.
night are people that are excited to see the movie.
There were so many like setups and then jokes, James Gunn style, where nobody laughed. There was a lot of that. And I think they were funny enough jokes, and they didn't necessarily take me out of the film. But it was like, were they necessary? Maybe not. So that's the thing about James Gunn, is like he's always going to have his jokes. He's going to try and make it like funny. And that's how he tries to humanize his stories, is to try and make it funny. But I don't necessarily think it worked to the extent that he wanted it to in this one, because the jokes weren't funny enough.
Yeah, this movie gave me a little bit of like PTSD of like Guardians 2, where every scene feels like he wants to do a serious moment, but it's got to be
undercuts it with a joke.
Yeah, he's got to bookend it with some sort of joke.
Yeah, I will say with Guardians 2, that's a movie I liked a lot more the second and third time I watched it, because those jokes were undercutting it the first time. I didn't really get the emotionality out of that film, but then the next time I watched it, I enjoyed it a lot more, and I think that's going to happen again for Superman.
I guess we could talk about the other like kind of strange thing plot-wise in this, in that the movie is set up this international conflict that Superman is getting involved in. Is this Israel-Palestine? Is this just James Gunn doing Israel-Palestine with different country names?
That's what a lot of people online are saying, and it is. I think it's a Middle Eastern conflict, right? Like
that's what it looks like.
Yeah, I would say that he probably, just the timing of like the pre-pro and stuff, like I would say it's probably more of a Ukraine metaphor, but like the climate that we're in right now, it feels so much like an Israel-Palestine storyline that it is just it's very current.
It's strange. So the setup of the movie is that before the film started, we don't see this actually happen. Superman gets involved in
an international conflict.
In this international conflict that is brewing of this like overwhelming military force in some other country, and they're going to invade another country that is much like lower down on the totem pole military wise. To the point where at the end of the movie, like that other country doesn't even have like guns or anything like that. They have like sticks.
Yeah.
And like hammers and stuff. And so Superman gets involved and basically tells the big country, hey buddy, don't do that. I'm Superman. We're not going to be fighting here on my planet. I'm Superman. And I don't know. It just feels weird in a superhero movie to have like the main conflict be your superhero getting involved in like international like geopolitical stuff, like military campaigns.
Yeah, but like the idea is that this character is above the nitty-gritty of that, and he just sees the people that need help versus the people who are hurting those people, and he tries to do what's right. Which I thought was really cool, but it's definitely like a bold and almost like strange statement from James Gunn.
Yeah, it's also unrealistic. It's one of those. It's a theme in a lot of superhero stories.
Right, like
you can't
Civil
save
War.
everybody.
Like Civil War has that geopolitical thing too, and they try and be like, well, what would actually happen if we implemented laws around this? But Superman's just way stronger than the Avengers, so if he thinks that something's bad, then he'll go fix it.
The other thing I really noticed on watching this is that it's such a movie for 2025. It's such a superhero movie in 2025. You can see the seeds of backlash from previous like iterations of superhero films and how this one is attempting to course correct off of that. This movie like goes out of its way of like nobody dies. There's one guy that gets a fucking bullet to the head. He's definitely dead.
Yeah, that was sad.
Which is like, it was kind of jarring, honestly. But the movie, like, it's like, what is the maximum level of destruction to property while also having zero casualties?
Very much
to the point
so.
where it's like almost comedic.
Yeah, that was a big complaint with Man of Steel, right? Is like Metropolis was just getting leveled, all these people were dying, and that's why Batman hated him in the BVS movie. And then it also comes back in the Flash movie. All these people die, and
but it also like grounds that universe, right?
Right,
because it's realistic.
It's realistic. And in this one, they do the same amount of property damage, like Dylan was saying. Like buildings just fall down.
They split open the foundation of reality
in Metropolis, but there were like very few casualties. Superman got there in time.
It's like a hard cut to like Metropolis is being evacuated. Everybody get out of the city. And it's like, I guess they evacuated it. They evacuated it in 15 minutes. Everybody got out of the city.
It's very interesting because in Guardians 3, James Gunn's last superhero movie, they go to this planet where like the people are like animal people, right? And that whole planet just gets like nuked. Like all of those civilians die in that movie. And then in this one, James Gunn was very much like, there's going to be no fatalities of civilians. They're all going to make it out alive. James Gunn has really been hyping this up as like his hope project. He has a new worldview ever since he got married. He married a very beautiful person, and he's got like a new lease on life. And now he's like, listen, the world's a beautiful place.
So what is James Gunn's divorce Superman film going to look like?
Well, he has a divorce in his past. I don't know which superhero movie lines up with that, but it's got to be one of them.
Was it Super?
It might be.
It might be Super.
Yeah,
Super's pretty depressing.
And that's the thing, not to backtrack, but like the humor in most of his other films is a little bit edgier, and he was also just like a more immature man. But like this one, you can really tell he's trying to like be PG rated, and that doesn't necessarily work with his style.
Yeah, he's trying to normify it a bit here,
which works for Superman, but not necessarily for James Gunn. So it's a weird balance of things going on in this movie.
And what makes it weirder is like the characters. There are so many characters that are like cartoon characters. They feel like Eve, the girlfriend of Lex Luthor, who is like super integral to the plot for some reason by the end of the movie.
And she's sexting Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, which like I don't know who Jimmy Olsen is specifically. What? He's like Superman's sidekick, right?
Or Superman's friend.
It's Superman's friend, Jimmy Olsen. I don't give a fuck. Like I don't care who this guy is. He doesn't need to be in the movie. I'm gonna keep it straight.
Jimmy Olsen's an integral part of the Superman universe.
None of the Daily Planet stuff. This is a problem that like the Zack Snyder film made as well. Like the Daily Planet stuff is not interesting. we don't need we don't need to give those characters like an important job at the end of the movie.
Nah, Rachel Brosnahan, she cut her teeth on like House of Cards. She was in that.
Yeah, like tough role in House of Cards.
Well, yeah, but there's supposed to be a little bit of like political intrigue in this movie and like journalistic intrigue, and so they go for that here, and some of it lands, some of it doesn't. But I do think you need Superman supporting cast in a Superman movie.
It's tricky because like it's a Superman movie. And I feel like a film where we see Superman go on an arc where he's learning, you know, how to be this superhero, that he's going through like trials and tribulations. What did he even like learn by the end of this movie? Because he saved everybody. There was no like collateral damage.
Well, I think what we haven't talked about yet, and probably what the biggest twist of this movie is that Jor-El, he sent a message with Superman, and then Jor-El turns out to be a little bit of a douchebag. Turns out in this film, Superman was sent to Earth to become our lord and master.
Yeah, apparently Kryptonians are Viltrumites.
Yeah, exactly. They kind of stole a little bit from Invincible, another show that we both like, where it's like not only did he leave Krypton because it was blowing up, but he was also supposed to go and kind of colonize our planet Earth, which is a divergence from almost every Superman origin. So that's kind of where this internal conflict in this film comes in. Superman's like, oh my God, my biological parents sent me here to enslave people, not to help them.
He told him to spread his seed, okay?
Yeah, that was crazy.
They were using hashtag secret harem.
Secret harem was crazy.
Which is incredible. Let me just first say that not a terrible idea on Superman's dad's part. You know, Superman is the strongest being on Earth. I can imagine like a whole bunch of super people running around could only be a good thing, right? I mean, in the comics, there are a bunch of super people running around, right?
Right, but they're not all Superman's children.
I'm guessing Superman has children in the comics that are Superman powered, right?
Right now, canonically, I think he has one. Jonathan Kent.
Is it called Superboy? Is that Superboy?
Yeah, but sometimes he's just called Superman. It depends on the story.
I do agree though that whole thing was like kind of weird.
Dude, so
Why do we need to retcon the motivations of Superman's parents sending him off of Krypton
yeah, that's the thing. Like they
to have some
needed,
sort of like gotcha?
they needed to have, yeah, exactly. They needed to have a gotcha. They needed to give this guy an internal conflict. So that one kind of makes sense, right? Like it's like you think you're this like golden beacon of good, but it turns out you're not, and then you have to deal with that. But then he gets over that within like 2 or 3 days just by going home and talking to his Earth parents. So that was weird. So one thing about this film, my least favorite thing about this film is the pacing. I think it was weird. I think this could have used another 20 minutes of stuff to like really add weight to the
This
film.
is one of the very, very, very few times you will hear me say this film probably could have been a little longer.
Yeah. Yeah. So this film was supposed to have title cards. It was supposed to be 1 week in Superman's life, and it would be like opening scene Monday, and then they would do a couple scenes, and then the next day it would say Tuesday. So it was supposed to be broken up into 7 days to watch Superman live his life. And then obviously that would have probably come with a little bit more time and scenes in that version of the film. And I think that would have worked a lot better. This was supposed to be a vaguely anthological film. The biggest inspiration from the comics was All-Star Superman, which is a 12-issue series where almost every issue is a subplot, a different storyline. And that's one of the greatest Superman comics of all time. So this, you can really tell, like, James Gunn initially wanted to break this up into multiple stories, and then he just backtracked at the end.
Yeah, it feels a bit episodic. Like,
yeah, but
if
not
you're trying
enough.
to break it up.
It was supposed to be more, and if it was, I think it would have made a lot more sense. This was 7 days, but you have no idea what the timeline is in this version of the film. It all goes by so fast. And yeah, that other version, the version that they cut things down from, sounds like it was a lot better.
Yeah, in the movie, it just kind of like introduces a lot of stuff that I don't know why it's in the movie. Mm-hmm. Like, what is with this like whole sequence in a pocket universe where Lex Luthor has prisoners of people that he doesn't like, including what's his name, Metamorpho? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Who he has Metamorpho's baby held captive in there.
Right.
It's just weird. Like, why do you have to get this expansive for your first movie in this franchise?
If you look at like All-Star Superman, which again, every issue is just a different chapter of Superman's life. Like, it really makes sense. Like, you're showcasing every side of Superman, and that's what James Gunn's trying to do here. And so if you saw that Superman being in prison just happened on Wednesday and then he's out by Thursday, like, you'd be like, okay, that was the Wednesday sequence. Like, it makes more sense in that context. In this one, it's just like he goes to jail for 20 minutes and then gets out, and it feels really weak and insubstantial. There was an original cut of this movie that had a lot more weight behind it.
Yeah, and I feel like Superman is also one of those heroes where the whole work-life balance of trying to be Clark and also trying to be Superman is like really important to the way that the character is like put together. And this movie has like 1.5 scenes where he's Clark Kent.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie is Superman.
I do agree with that. Yeah, there should have been a lot more Clark Kent stuff. There should have been some secret identity stuff. Everyone important in this movie, barring maybe Lex Luthor, knows that Superman is Clark Kent. Like, there is no hiding your secret identity to keep your loved ones safe. Like, his parents know that he's Superman, which is canon. Lois knows, which is sometimes canon. And then those Justice Gang members, all of them know that he's Superman. And yeah, there's so much emotional weight you can get from that secret identity subplot. Like, that comes up a ton in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. And it just does not happen in this movie at all, which worries me a little bit. Like, maybe the Batman will be like that too. Like, we'll see what happens in the future, but I think they got to go back to basics there.
Yeah. So I think as a first film in this franchise, I think it's a little curious because, I mean, I don't know what their if they haven't announced slate for the rest of their...
Yeah, they announced it like a year
So what's like their phase one? Do you know it off the top of your head?
Well, the funniest thing about the phase one announcement, and this phase is called DC Universe Gods and Monsters, right? So they're introducing gods and they're introducing monsters. But the funniest thing about that announcement, like, people, they were like, can't wait for James Gunn to announce his slate. I'm so excited. And then the first thing, James Gunn comes out and he's like, I'm so excited to talk about the first project in my new DC universe. It's a cartoon called Creature Commandos. Yeah. It was insane.
It's like, buddy, can you be a little serious right now?
So we already have Creature Commandos. That was the first project out of this universe, which I watched. It's decent. It's good. And then it's Superman. And then it's Peacemaker Season 2, where Peacemaker Season 1's not canon. And then we've got a bunch of other stuff. We've got a Green Lantern TV show, which will be good. That's Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, buddy cop type thing, but super serious. It's supposed to be like True Detective. There's a show I think called Themyscira, which is a Wonder Woman show without Wonder Woman, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to do that Batman, this version of Batman within this phase, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Is that the Brave and the Bold movie?
Yeah.
That the Flash director's doing?
Well, I don't know if he got fired yet, but
I don't know if he got fired yet.
there's no way.
Well,
right?
they're doing a Supergirl movie also. Right?
Oh, right.
Because
Yes,
Millie Alcock
Supergirl.
she has like a cameo at the end of this movie.
Yeah, that's really the main spoiler that this title of spoilers refers to is that Supergirl's in this. She shows up for about 12 seconds. Now,
is it canon that Krypto is her dog and not Superman's dog?
Not necessarily, but they do have a lot more time together in the comics, I would say.
Yeah, I'm kind of like mixed on Krypto and his role in this film.
Well, it's a cute dog, so that always upgrades a film.
It's clear that James Gunn is using him in a similar way that like he uses Groot in the Guardians films.
Yeah.
Where it's like a character that like can't communicate directly or really like work a lot of the ways with the other characters, but he's great for the bits.
Yeah, Krypto's great. I get what you're saying, like, why is he in this movie? I hear you, but obviously he's in this movie to, I don't know, humanize Superman because we all like dogs.
Krypto's arguably the strongest character in this movie.
He's very strong.
He saves Superman's ass like 3 times.
Yeah, it's awesome. Krypto's great. Yeah, oh yeah, there's like this subplot where Krypto gets kidnapped by Lex, and so that like kind of drives Superman in this John Wick-esque subplot, and that's why he actually goes to jail. He doesn't get captured by Lex. He gives himself up so he can go to jail where he thinks Krypto might be. I like Krypto. I think he's gonna sell a lot of merch too. So
yeah, the cynical side of you will always be like, yeah,
what will sell the merch in this movie?
It's just merch.
I think the designs in this movie are pretty good. I think Metamorpho might have been the standout to me. I thought his costume was awesome, and then obviously Krypto, this like scruffy little dog with his dumb cape. There's going to be a lot of kids who buy that. This movie is so weird. Like, it's such a weird introduction to Superman. There's so many characters.
Yeah, there's like way easier paths you could have taken to do your Superman movie that would have been like safe and probably just as effective, like box office wise. You make the comparison to the MCU, right? Their first film was an Iron Man movie it was an origin story.
Yeah, tight film.
Yeah, it's tight. Tony Stark going from being this asshole weapons manufacturer to thinking, hey, maybe I could be a hero to people. And then they do the Captain America movie. They do the Thor movie. They do like the basics. You set up your important characters. Yeah. And in this one, they're like, we don't have time for that. Like we're 15 years behind the other company where we had to poach one of their directors to do our entire universe for us. So it's almost like James Gunn's like, shit, I got to do like 3 movies in this one movie. And hopefully it works like well enough that like I can keep this going. My worry for like future DC projects after watching this is like, it's not like James Gunn can direct everything.
Right. He's not directing everything. I think he's writing Supergirl and then maybe writing that Batman Brave and the Bold, but that's got to be it. Like, he's not directing or writing the Green Lantern show. It'll be interesting for sure. Like, and you just have to trust him as an architect rather than a writer-director. Like, does he have the sauce that phases 1 through 3 Kevin Feige had? That's really the question. And I don't know. He's not tested in that space.
Yeah, because I think, like, the best thing that Feige did with that original Infinity Saga was, like, the patience of it.
Yeah.
And his ability to be like, okay, we're going to have, like, our big movies every like year or two, but we're gonna have all these like little movies that eventually snowball into our really big movies. And I'm sure, like in the back of his mind, James Gunn's got some sort of like, whether he's doing like Dark Side, or if he's doing Crisis on Infinite Earths, or like something big that he's like leading up to. But
yeah, I would think he has a plan.
It's gonna be tricky, like how all these pieces fit in. I mean, Marvel is showing that like every movie doesn't need to be a hit, right? But DC, like their hit rate needs to be higher.
Their first 3 need to be hits. Like Superman has to be a hit, Batman the Brave and the Bold has to be a hit, and Supergirl has to be a hit.
Especially like if DC does a Batman movie and it's just okay.
Yeah.
People are going to compare it to the Matt Reeves Batman and be like, why isn't this just like part of the universe? The Robert Pattinson Batman films are such like a weird monkey wrench in this whole operation because the first one, people fucking love it.
Yeah.
And the second one, people also will probably love it.
Yeah.
And it's just disconnected from this entire universe. And I kind of feel like it needs to stay disconnected, especially like after seeing the Penguin show. Like, it's just a completely different tone of a universe
compared to the Superman movie.
What the Superman movie is, it's way darker. It's way more grounded. It's way more personal. It's not we're gonna go fly off to other countries and like try to save, these like geopolitical conflicts.
Yeah, I mean, I could see a universe with a Robert Pattinson Batman and this Superman working because of those conflicting versions of the story. But I think James Gunn really wants to do his own Batman. Like, he is supporting Matt Reeves and letting him continue to do the rest of this Batman saga. But I think you'll need like a different, cartoonier Batman than the Robert Pattinson Batman. And we've seen Batman show up in Creature Commandos, the launch point of this universe. Did you see that?
No, is he like a background character or something?
Exactly. And he's drawn very broad-shouldered, so Robert Pattinson's not there.
We're going to bring Ben Affleck back?
That would be so funny. I think as a launch point, I agree with what you're saying. Like, he really crammed a ton of stuff in just to be like, we can really get our universe going after this. They could make a Justice Gang movie if they wanted. Mr. Terrific, he was super in this movie. And Dylan, you didn't know that character before, right?
No, Mr. Terrific's really cool. It's just like weird that he was kind of the main sidekick to Superman.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the one that saves Superman when he gets imprisoned.
Yeah.
Mr. Terrific is like the MVP of this entire movie. And he's what, a C-list, D-list DC character?
Yeah, I would say C-list. He is a big character. He's a lot of people's favorites. He's the smartest man in the DC universe. He's got decent powers. He's kind of the guy who, when the Justice League goes out on missions, he's like the overseer or like the man in the van or the man in the watchtower. He's the one calling the shots because he's a brilliant strategist. But because of that, he doesn't often get his own comic books. And
does he have a lot of crossover with Superman specifically?
Sure.
In the comics?
Yeah, because he's in the Justice League. They've teamed up a good number of times. But he's just not a character with that many appearances in comic books in general, like comparatively, right? Compared to like the big 7 of the Justice League. He is a fairly big C-list hero. But it was cool to see him get to do so much stuff to do. But at the same time, you can't get it out of your head that it's like, wow, they're really trying to get these minor heroes some screen time so that they can really expand this quick.
Yeah, it's tricky. The movie, I don't think it's bad. And when I was watching it, that was like the thought in my head. I was like, do I think this is bad or do I think it's like fine? And I think I've landed more on the side of this movie is competent enough, even though it's kind of a mess. And it's a movie where I feel like people, 3-4 months from now, they're going to publish like these really great, video essays on YouTube. And it's a movie where you could probably like nitpick a shitload of stuff in it. And the counter argument is just going to be like, well, yeah, he had to fit a lot of stuff in this movie. He was trying some stuff.
Yeah, I would also say it's about how the movie makes you feel. There's a lot of moments where it's like there's a ton of dumb stuff happening around Superman, and then you just like zoom in on Superman flying in the sky, and it's very majestic. And you get that emotionality of this character being like, whoa, that's Superman. They zoom in on his crest on his chest a lot. and you're like,
a lot of
whoa,
slow motion shots of
that's
him
Superman.
like catching a building or
Yeah.
like saving a person.
Exactly. And I think that's really going to resonate with audiences. It resonated with me. I thought it was great. So we'll have to see where the public lands on this. Dylan, how would you compare this to like the Man of Steel?
I mean, obviously, like totally different films tonally. It's interesting because Man of Steel is more of the origin story for the character, and in that sense, I prefer like the story structure of Man of Steel, even though I think Man of Steel obviously it has its own problems as well. Even though I kind of liked them using Zod as this like kind of like evil version of Superman as opposed to Ultraman being like puppeted by Lex Luthor. Having that like one central villain that is like directly connected to Superman, I thought was like a really cool idea. And I feel like Lex Luthor he's such a big character that I would have no problem with them like saving him for a future movie potentially, or having him as only like a supplementary villain, and this is just like somebody to set up. This movie, it really like paints the picture of like, no, this is Lex Luthor versus Superman, and that's it. And so I think ultimately I probably land like at similar ratings for both films. Man of Steel is a film that I think like generally people unjustly give a lot of shit to, when I think it's just like kind of an average movie ultimately.
Yeah, I think it's pretty bad.
I think Man of Steel has like a lot of the exact same issues that this movie has. It's just like tonal differences.
Yeah, they are very different films, which I guess makes it hard to compare. But for me, just like this movie is more fun, and I think it has more of that inspiring element of Superman that I think makes that character worthwhile to go see at the movies. So for me, this one is a better film than Man of Steel. And I'm not like a certified Man of Steel hater. I think it's a fine movie, but like it's just not a good intro to a universe. This one functions a little better, but I think it is bogged down by like how much stuff James Gunn is trying to cram in.
And it's really tricky because like this movie is like basically locking them into this James Gunn tone. Everything is going to have to be like this level of jokey now, right?
I don't necessarily think that's true. If you go back and watch Iron Man 1 and then you watch, I don't know, Shang-Chi, pretty different. You can start diverging little bit by little bit.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see like how
away.
much like James Gunn will let other directors cook a little bit.
Yeah.
And how much like he reels them in. I mean, Feige is like notorious for like those movies end up exactly how he wants them to end up, whether they're good or whether they're bad. He like kind of owns that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to fall on James Gunn's shoulders now, which
it's a tough job.
I think is going to be interesting.
Yeah, you guys should check out our James Gunn episode. We kind of talk about did he have 6 films before this?
Yeah.
And 5 of them were like superhero movies.
Well,
and
that
one
was if you go back and listen to our James Gunn episode that we did, I had mentioned that I called him overrated because I said this is a guy that likes to do jokey ensemble superhero films, and that's his wheelhouse, and that's exactly what this movie is. He took a film called Superman, and he made a jokey ensemble superhero film out of it.
Very much so.
He made it a team movie. He made it like Superman is the A plot, but there are many secondary plots going on.
Yeah, it basically worked for me, but I do think the B plots did bog it down a little bit. I liked seeing, Hawk Girl. That's a great character. I like seeing Guy Gardner. He's not someone who's been brought to life in live action as far as I know. And Nathan Fillion's great. Like, he is friends with James Gunn. He's got a lot of charisma. He was a fan favorite to play Hal Jordan for a long time, but I think he aged out of it, so they let him be Guy Gardner in this one, and I think it worked pretty well. But at the same time, would a Superman movie be better if it was more about Superman? Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, those are my main thoughts on it. It's interesting this movie is coming out in between 2 big Marvel films.
Yeah, you can compare it to that too. Like, what did you think this compared to Thunderbolts, which a lot of people is like, we're so back. That's a return to form.
Yeah, it's weird because Thunderbolts didn't make a great return at the box. I think it made like 380, something like that.
Really bad, yeah.
And I like Thunderbolts.
I like Thunderbolts too.
I think that's a movie that's like pretty fun, and it's using a bunch of like not super major characters. And then the spoiler for the end of that movie is that they become the new Avengers team.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Even though I'm guessing they're not going to stay as the Avengers team for very long.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Once Doomsday comes around. But those are enjoyable characters, and that's like a fairly tight film. It's like one continuous like sequence essentially with all of them, and you see the team together the whole time. And then we're getting Fantastic Four in what 2-3 weeks?
2 weeks. We got tickets.
We do have tickets. We'll probably be doing a pod for that as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I had a higher anticipated Superman, but I'm excited to see the Fantastic Four. I think Thunderbolts is a little better than this Superman movie.
Yeah, and it has the benefit of like being able to be a tighter film that has less pressure on it. Yeah. There's way more pressure on Fantastic Four than Thunderbolts.
Yeah. They have to launch the next phase of Marvel, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I don't know. Any final thoughts here on Superman, Jason?
I mean, I think you should see it. Like, if you like superhero movies at any level, like, you're going to want to catch this one. It's the start of a new universe. I think it does the character of Superman justice, even if the plot's a little bit wonky. And then, yeah, for fans of the comics, I'm curious what you think. So if you go see it, let us know what you think in the comments.
And what's your Letterboxd rating out of 5?
I'm giving this a 3.5, which is on the lower end for me, but like at the same time, still a positive rating.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5, which is higher than usual. I guess,
yeah, we're actually closer than normal. Normally, I give a movie a 4, and Dylan gives it a 2.5. So
I saw some people on Twitter talking about how this movie debuted with a really high Rotten Tomatoes score. However, the average Rotten Tomatoes score was like 3.2 out of 5 or something like that. And the way the Rotten Tomatoes is calculated is that everything 6 out of 10 or higher is fresh. Mm-hmm. So if 100 people review a movie and they all give it a 6 out of 10, it'll have a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Right. And people were thinking that might be part of like why this film has like a higher than typical Rotten Tomatoes score.
It's like so just above average. It's like, getting a 90% Rotten Tomatoes score.
It's just hitting that average rating for enough people.
Yeah. I think that I don't think it's even worth really talking about whether or not that Rotten Tomatoes score is accurate.
Yeah, it's irrelevant.
And I do think it'll settle like after a couple weeks of people seeing the movie.
Yeah, the Letterboxd rating will be the more interesting one.
Right now that's at a 4, which is quite high.
Yeah, though that's got the bump of people are coming out of the theater hyped.
Right out of the theater. Yeah, the guy next to me was like, this is a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Jason, how many movies have you come out of the theater and gone, that's a 9 out of 10, bro?
A good number. And most of the time, I stand by it. Only a couple times have I like bumped it down from a 4.5 to something lower. I love movies.
Did you give Spider-Man No Way Home a 9 out of 10 coming out of the theater?
That's one I would have bumped down after thinking about it. I think I did give that like a 4.5. Right,
bro, this is a 12 out of 10.
3.5. This is one where I think my 3.5 could go up to a 4 if I go back and watch this movie again and I get just as like inspired by the character of Superman. I'll probably bump it up.
It's all dependent on who you sit next to at the bar at the theater.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. The people here were hyped tonight to see Superman, and a lot of them were really drunk. And that was just kind of a fun vibe. If I go back for the normie showing and the vibes are different, then maybe I won't bump it up, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. But anyway, that's it for our full spoilers review here for James Gunn's Superman. Let us know in the comments, what did you think of the film? Are you excited to see future DC projects from James Gunn and other directors? You can check out the Over Under podcast on Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you get your podcasts. We have a whole bunch of episodes, including one on the Snyderverse and one on James Gunn specifically. So you can go back and listen to our James Gunn pod, see what we think of his entire filmography. We're also on Patreon. We also have a Discord server where you can come hang out with us and talk about movies. Yeah, for me and Jason, that's going to do it for this episode of the Over Under Movies podcast. See the movies.
See the movies.
Peace out.